Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be about those type of scents that you order blindly without ever testing. You don't have very high expectations about them, but once you actually receive them, they turn out to be a pleasant surprise. So today I'm going to show you a list of 8 such fragrances that I ordered blindly, but when I received them without having high expectations about them, I actually was very impressed. The first fragrance that I'm going to show you in today's video comes from the brand of Rue Broca and it's called Theoreme. Now this fragrance used to garner quite a bit of attention at one point last year. Quite a few fragrance reviewers actually talked about this fragrance and pretty much all of them were actually praising this one. And that got my attention. I ordered this one blindly without ever testing it, but I didn't really have a very high expectations simply because this was very cheap at that point. I paid about 20 euros for this one, and also at that point I already had Turati Blue from Afnan in my collection and I was really impressed by Turati Blue. So when I received the Theoreme from Rue Broca, when I opened it up for the first time and sprayed it, I actually instantly became impressed with the scent in here. For those who don't know, this fragrance is cloning Bulgari's Tiger and actually is a very nice clone of Tiger. You get that very nice, very masculine and very easy to wear, fresh scent profile that relies on a very nice juicy grapefruit note that has some musk, some spices, some woods on the dry down. All around the quality here is surprisingly good, especially considering the price point. And another thing that really impressed me with this fragrance is the performance. This is a very well performing, fresh cheapie. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you in today's video is yet another freshie, and it actually comes from a sister brand to the Rue Broca brand that I showed you firstly in today's video. This brand is called Zimaya and both of them are actually sub-brands of Afnan, and the fragrance in question is called Mazaaj Infused. This is one of my latest pickups. I think I got this fragrance last week. This is an inspiration of Louis Vuitton's Imagination and it actually is a pretty similar scent-wise to the original fragrance. It relies heavily on the citrusy notes, there are some spices, you get a neroli note, you get some woody notes, and the main note in here is the note of ginger. Now I ordered this blindly. I didn't have pretty much any expectations because this I ordered this for something like 15-16 euros, and at that price point I usually don't have any expectations from the fragrances, but this actually turned out to be surprisingly good. And another area where this is actually really nice is how good it actually performs, especially in the hot weather that we're currently in where I'm living. This actually is a surprisingly good performer. I'm getting about 7 to 8 hours of performance out of this fragrance. I'm still testing it out, but so far I've been really impressed. But just keep in mind one thing, because the main note in here is the note of ginger and it's a very ginger forward fragrance. You really need to like the note of ginger in order to enjoy this fragrance, but if you do, then I think this is a very nice cheapie. The next one that I'm going to quickly talk about will actually come from the brand of Khadlaj and it's called Infini Absolute. Now I already have a few Khadlaj fragrances in my collection, but all of them were blind buys for me, and when I ordered this one I really didn't know what to expect exactly, and I really didn't have very high expectations because the seller who was selling this quoted that this is similar to Creed Aventus but actually has a sweet sort of a twist on it, and this actually turned out to be true. This carries the Creed Aventus DNA but actually has more fruity sweetness and more ambery sweetness, and this is a really nice twist in my opinion that Khadlaj have done with the original scent. It has pretty nice quality. Performance actually is also pretty nice, and in fact I talked about this fragrance in my yesterday's video as well when I gave you this as one alternative to Creed Aventus itself. It's priced competitively, I think about 30-35 euros, and all around you're actually getting a pretty good quality and performance in return. The next fragrance that I'm going to talk about will be one of those pickups that I did last year. It comes from the brand of Armaf and it's called Armaf Hunter Killer. Now again, I ordered this blindly last year because at one point when this was released, it actually again started to garner some attention, but there were some conflicting reports on this one, what it's actually close to or cloning. Some people were saying that this is a clone of Mancero's Red Tobacco. Other people were saying that this is a clone of L'Homme Ideal Extreme. You know, and there were even some other comparisons, so I didn't really know what to expect from Hunter Killer when I ordered it. But when I actually received it, it turned out to be a very interesting mix, something that Armaf tends to do from time to time. You know, this really carries quite a bit of similarities to Red Tobacco, but at the same time feels a little bit similar to L'Homme Ideal Extreme. It's a very nice unisex fragrance in my opinion that has a very nice performance, in fact quite good performance, and I really enjoyed the scent profile in here. You got tobacco, you got some sweet notes, you got some fruity notes, a cherry note. It's a very nice fragrance that's really nicely blended, and although it comes packaged in a really ugly bottle all around, I think this was a great pickup, a great blind buy for me. The next one will be from the brand of Lattafa, and it's one of those super inexpensive fragrances that when you see the price tag you actually have absolutely no expectations, no at least good expectations about the fragrance itself, simply because of how cheap it is. It's called Hayaati, or some people call it Hayaati Black. It's part of the Hayaati line of fragrances. Another reason why I really didn't have any expectations about this one is the fact that it's pretty similar to Paco Rabanne's Invictus, and I'm not a huge fan of the original Invictus, so I didn't really you know, have a really good expectations about this one, high expectations. But when I actually received it, I was really impressed, simply because for the amount of money that this costs, about 20 euros, sometimes even less than 20 euros, you're getting a really nice, very likable, very sweet and youthful you know, scent in return. The next one that turned out to be a pleasant surprise will be from the brand of Fragrance World, and it's called Invicto Victorious Elixir. Now again, this fragrance received quite a bit of hype at some point, I think at the end of last year or early this year, and people were actually praising this one for the fact that it's very similar to the original fragrance that it's been inspired by, and that's Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir. I was a bit skeptical because sometimes, you know, some fragrances tend to be very hyped up, but they turn out to be disappointments for me. But this actually wasn't a disappointment. Fragrance World did a really nice job with the Invicto Victorious Elixir. It actually smells very similar to the original fragrance, almost identical, has really nice quality, has very low price, and probably the only drawback compared to the original fragrance is the fact that this is not as good of a performer as the original, but still, performance wise, this actually does a very nice job. And the best thing out of all, you know, apart from the fact that it's super close to the original fragrance, is the price. This is a few times cheaper compared to the original fragrance. The next one again comes from Fragrance World. It's one of my latest pickups from Fragrance World. It's called Bonfire, and this one is heavily inspired by Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace. Now, sometimes I've had a bit of a hit and miss, you know, experience when it comes to Fragrance World, so I didn't really have, you know, very high expectations when I ordered Bonfire. But once I received this fragrance and tried it for the first time, I was immediately, you know, surprised and quite impressed by the scent itself in here. It's very similar to the original fragrance. It relies heavily on, you know, the notes of incense, the sugary notes, you know, the sweet notes, the woody notes. All around, very similar to the original fragrance. Maybe feels a little bit more smoky in the opening, but apart from that, you know, pretty much a spot-on clone of By the Fireplace. Also has a very decent performance, and again, the best thing out of all is the fact that it's, you know, price-wise, it costs, you know, a quarter of the price of the original, maybe even less than that. And the last fragrance that I'm going to feature in today's video will again come from the brand of Zimaya. And it's one of those fragrances that I actually had to chase for quite a while before I was finally able to get my hands on a bottle of. I've had my eye on this fragrance for probably like 6 or 7 months before I was actually able to get a bottle of, and it's called Royal Paragon, and this one is heavily inspired by Layton from Parfums de Marly. And in fact, to me, this smells like a little bit of a mix between Layton and Layton Exclusive. The opening has always, at least in my opinion, has smelled a little bit closer to Layton Exclusive, but the dry down is actually closer to Layton itself. It's a very inexpensive fragrance. In fact, it's the cheapest clone of Layton that I have in my collection. When I got my bottle of this one, I paid about 14 euros, and at that price point I really didn't have any expectations about the actual fragrance, but it turned out to be surprisingly good. The scent quality is really nice. Performance is decent, nothing spectacular, but still I'm getting at least 7 hours of performance out of this fragrance. And all around, again, because of the price point and the fact that at that price point I had absolutely no expectations from this fragrance, it turned out to be a really pleasant surprise. So guys, in today's video I tried to quickly go over 8 fragrances that I bought blindly. I didn't have any expectations about them, and they turned out actually to be a pleasant surprise. I hope that you found this video interesting or entertaining. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.